Coming up next on We Are Marshall Today, celebrating 50 years as a university. We'll have Marshall's story.
Plus, hundreds of high school students get their first glimpse of green and white. Details on this story and more up next on We Are Marshall Today. Hello and welcome to We Are Marshall Today. I'm Leah Clark-Payne.
And I'm Dan Hollis. The Marshall family is celebrating a special milestone in March.
Dan, it was 50 years ago that the West Virginia legislature awarded then Marshall College university status.
It all goes to show that over the years, Marshall has really won the respect and admiration of many people.
There's an old saying, to know where you're going, you should know where you've been. That's certainly the case for the Marshall community as it celebrates its 50th year as a university. This anniversary has been on the minds of university archivists for months as they've researched, gathered, and reviewed historical documents and film from the early 1960s. Finding most of the material, though, was easier than one might think. Archivist Nat DeBruin says then-President Stuart Smith and his staff kept impeccable records.
President Smith and his administration, they sensed the importance of the event, and they actually kept a completely separate file of everything related to the 50th, or related to Marshall's university status.
Marshall's road to university status was a difficult one. Beginning in 1958, President Smith initiated efforts to convince the legislature that Marshall College met criteria for university status, but there was significant resistance. The day the state legislature approved the bill, students took to the streets to celebrate.
They found out that we had been promoted to a university, and they went nuts. I've got film of them running back and forth across campus, holding hands in a long chain, doing I guess they called it a snake dance or something. Coming out of the front gates there on 16th Street and 4th Avenue, which street used to actually work, and going out 4th Avenue in their cars and convertibles and just letting everybody in town know that we were a university now.
Preserving Marshall's history is of paramount importance to DeBruin and others who pore over newspapers, personal correspondence, and other documents every day. Marshall's 50th anniversary celebration is much more visual thanks to the efforts of digital media supervisor Andrew Earls, whose job is to convert film to a 21st century format.
We take those reels, run them through a projector that instead of projecting it out, converts it to a digital format, and we can record that on a DVD.
Marshall's celebration marking 50 years as a university includes a special day at the state capitol and several campus events.
Joining us now to talk more about Marshall's road to university status is Dr. Alan Gould, who has served Marshall in a variety of capacities, including Professor of History, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts, Interim President. I could go on and on. You have done a lot of service for the university.
I've enjoyed every bit of it.
We appreciate that. Currently, you're the Executive Director of the John D. Verdrinko Academy here at Marshall.
That's right.
You are just doing an incredible job. And because of your history with the university, you have a lot of institutional knowledge. And so I want to ask you a little bit about the stage in 1950 and 1960 for Marshall College. What was it like for the university, or for the college then?
Well, that's 50 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been 50 years, but it was quite a bit different than it is today. Students today, faculty today would not recognize the institution physically or any other way. In the 50s and 60s, there were very few buildings in comparison today. It's like Smith Hall and Northcott, which is now gone. That's where the Drinko Library is. Shockey Student Union, which was the center of social activity on the campus, that's gone. That's where the student center is now. There was the old women's gym, I think Jenkins Hall, a couple of dormitories for men, Hodges and Laidley, a women's gym, a women's dorm, Pritchett Hall, and the Science Building and Morrow Library. And that was the footprint. And I think probably we had somewhere between maybe 4,000, certainly not more than 5,000 students at that time. So if you look physically at the institution as it was in the 50s as compared to the way it is today, not only developed a physical plant 3 or 4 times the size as it was in the 50s and early 60s, but the same thing is true of the student body and of the faculty. This 50-year period has been a great leap forward for this institution.
You were a student in 1961 when Marshall College was granted university status, earned university status from the legislature. Describe to us the feeling on campus, the atmosphere on campus when that occurred.
Well, it was absolutely euphoric, to tell you the truth. It was a dream come true. Many people in this part of the state, particularly the students at this institution, never thought that it would happen. Felt that those who opposed our university status would somehow or another prevail. And actually, I think the students discovered it before the administration did. And there were celebrations all over campus, and a whole large number of students came over to President Stuart Smith's office. He was then the leading light in the movement, and asked him to come out in front of Old Main and give a speech. I think it was the first time he heard about it. And he came out and spoke to the students, and everybody was quite euphoric.
That's what I recall from looking at the material, the archival material, is that he said that the student body heard before him and asked him to come out and say a few words, and he said he could hardly remember what he said because he was so excited.
Right.
You said that he was Dr. Stuart Smith, president of the college at that time, was the leading advocate for it. There was some resistance to Marshall becoming a university, so let's talk for a moment about that.
Well, to say there was resistance is putting it mildly. To say there was acrimony would be putting it mildly. Yes, of course, there was strong resistance to it. I'm sure that other institutions in the state felt that the state did not have the resources or did not have the need or whatever it might happen to be for a second university. Of course, we in this end of the state felt that we did. And it wasn't just based upon the euphoric idea that Marshall should be a university. There was academic precedent to establish it. For example, the North Central Accrediting Association that accredited both us and WVU and the other institutions in the state. In 1957, it put out a report at the time of the accreditation visit that they were reviewing Marshall as a university-type institution. So years before the event actually happened, there was substantial academic evidence and credence that we should have such a standing. And it was based upon that and a couple of other studies that were done, I think, that President Smith began the laborious process in '59 of trying to acquire university status for Marshall. And it was a big difference.
Yes, I remember reading that it was quite a campaign that spanned several years. Dr. Smith was not the only proponent, though. There were other people that were instrumental in Marshall gaining university status. Speak about them for a moment.
Well, there were others that I can remember, and there were so many. And you're always a little hesitant to mention names because you leave somebody out. But Ken Stetler, who was a business leader here, he was chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, Huntington Chamber of Commerce, and I think he was president of our foundation. He played a monumental part in it, in carrying the ball to the legislature. And Raymond Brewster, the Herald Dispatch, he was very active in it. I would say most of our business community was very supportive. And that was another thing that was unique about Marshall at that time, and that was the close town-gown relationship that we had. The businesses in this area were very protective of this college, and so they were very supportive of what went on. Of course, our Cabell Wayne delegation was active. So many people were involved in it that it's difficult to to name them all, but without hesitation, all of them would say that the person who led the drive, who met every legislator, who spoke to everybody he could, always in a positive way, was President Smith.
Just one thing before we go. Earning university status today is a little different than it was then. Can you speak to that difference in about 30 seconds?
Well, it's hard to explain today because now state legislatures create colleges. Pennsylvania, now West Virginia, of course, has done it, and others, with just the passing of a piece of legislation. Back then, university status was an extremely difficult thing to attain. It was a high standard in which you were being set. And Marshall met those standards. For example, when I was here, and to show you why it was so important, nearly 50% of our faculty held terminal degrees. That was far higher than most universities had. And our graduate college, nearly 100%. So it was a status symbol, yes, but it was also the basic building block if you were going to become a viable institution. So that's why it was so critical. And I think we proved it.
All right. Dr. Alan Gould, thank you so much for being with us today.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
We'll be back with more We Are Marshall Today after this message.
As you think about your future, who's your competition? Who are your chief competitors? I notice some of you looking to your right and left at your neighbors. You need to think bigger, much bigger. Choose Marshall University. Big enough to matter, small enough to care. Immerse yourself in your learning. Connect with your professors. And have fun learning. That's important too. Find your passion. Pursue your dreams. Marshall University.
My name's Emily, and in 7 years, I'll be an alcoholic. I'll start drinking in 8th grade, but my parents won't really notice because I'll do okay in school and everything will seem okay, but everything won't be okay.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults. So start talking before they start drinking.
Marshall University's June Harless Center for Rural Education recently received $200,000 grant from Frontier Communications. The grant money is for 21st century technology to advance educational programs and training in West Virginia. Specifically, it involves support for a virtual science, technology, engineering, and math academy.
This opportunity gives us the chance to create a passion and a vision that we've had of developing a virtual STEM academy to be able to reach out. And I think that the word access is something that is maybe overused or in many ways, but this access that we're talking about is not only the access to technology, but the access to professional development, cost-effective, rigorous courses in science and technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Frontier Area General Manager Dennis Blose said his company is excited to partner with Marshall University in an effort to take education to the most rural parts of the state.
Digital evidence was the topic of the day during a recent forensics conference at Marshall University. The discussions were part of the Appalachian Institute of Digital Evidence, involving topics like information security, electronic discovery, and evidence. 1 year after a devastating earthquake in Haiti, relief efforts may be doing more harm than good. That's the opinion of Haiti expert Kieran Jerome, who spoke to Marshall students in early February. The PhD candidate at Columbia is an anthropologist specializing in Haiti. He says the model for aid will actually perpetuate the problems that led to the disaster. For instance, Jerome says continuing food giveaways actually hampers the business of local farmers. Jerome's presentation was sponsored by several campus organizations.
Some 300 people attended Marshall University's recent diversity breakfast. The annual event focuses on efforts to embrace diversity on campus. Senior Vice President and Provost Dr. Gail Ormiston delivered the morning's special remarks. Marshall's diversity breakfast was started in 2001 with the intent of promoting campus harmony and unity.
High school debate and speech teams from around the region visited Marshall University earlier this month. The 40th annual John Marshall Speech and Debate Tournament is the largest regional tournament for middle and high school teams. The event kicked off with a general session followed by competition in 20 different events. High school students from more than a dozen states visited Marshall University's Huntington campus in late February.
And Leah, the traditional spring open house gives potential students a glimpse of college life at Marshall. They arrived by the hundreds to check out Marshall University, a place many of them will likely return to in the fall as freshmen. Nearly 200 high school students and their parents visited Marshall's Huntington campus for a Green-White Day in hopes of learning more about the school, its majors, and people. Attending an open house was a no-brainer for Wayne High School junior Ephraim Patori, who says visiting campus is an essential element in his decision-making process.
I wouldn't want to, let's say I was going to buy something, I just wouldn't want to look at the picture and buy it. I'd want to actually, see what I'm looking at, right in front of me.
Ephraim's mom agrees. She says that campus visits are important for students and their parents.
First of all, I want them to network because they're the ones that are going to have to deal with the same faculty. So that's priority right there. That's number one. And number two, I want them to explore and be sure of what they want to study because they need to find that passion to be able to get through some of those courses that are just going to kick them.
Marshall's Green and White Days allow the university to roll out the welcome mat to potential students. Dean of Undergraduate Studies, Dr. Frances Hensley, is one of the administrators available to students during open house.
It's an opportunity for us to invite students and parents in to give us a look. Come in, talk to faculty, talk to staff, talk to students. And this is a particularly great day because our students are here. Sometimes we have open houses on weekends and the campus is not as lively as it is typically during the week because it's Saturday morning and students perhaps are not up yet. But this is great because this is a typical class day for us and students and parents are getting to experience that.
Open house includes a welcome from President Stephen Kopp and other top administrators, tours of campus, academic showcases, and a review of admission and financial aid requirements. If you're interested in attending Marshall University, sign up for the next Green-White Day, which is scheduled for Saturday, April 2nd. Visit us on the web for more information. And joining us now to talk more about the student recruitment process is Marshall's Director of Recruitment, Beth Wolfe. Beth, thanks. Welcome to We Are Marshall Today.
Thanks for having me.
We just saw a story about Green and White Day. What was it like from your perspective?
It was a terrific day. We had a really enthusiastic crowd of students and their families, and most of them left actually saying they were more excited about coming to Marshall than they had been when they got there that morning. So it was a really successful day for us.
It was a bit unusual in that it was on a Monday and classes were in session. What were the benefits of that?
Well, one benefit having it on President's Day is that many of the public schools are closed that day and the students don't have school, so they're not having to miss assignments in order to come visit campus that day. But for us, the benefit is, and Dr. Hensley mentioned this in the piece, is that our students are out and about on campus, they're in classes, our professors are out and about. On Saturdays, obviously our students are here, but Saturday morning, many of them are still in bed, and so it's just not as active on Saturday mornings when we have open houses then. So we like to give them that full experience of what a day on campus is really like.
The recruitment process is obviously more than just Green White Days. What other avenues does Marshall have?
We use a lot of different strategies in recruiting students. One is that we go out to high schools and college fairs to talk to students and most importantly get their contact information so that we can stay in touch with them. We do a series of mailings throughout the year, email communications, telephone communications, and really try to guide students all the way through the process. So we want them to apply, we want them to get that application complete, and then once they're admitted, we want them to submit their enrollment deposit and make the commitment to come to Marshall.
Well, let's build on that idea a bit. Once a student has been accepted to Marshall, then what is their next step?
Their next step is to submit a $100 enrollment deposit, and it is a deposit towards their tuition. It's not an extra fee. So that will be $100 less that they have to pay in the fall. That then tells us that they're committed to coming to Marshall, although if they change their mind, they can get a refund if they request that before May 1st. Then their next step is to register for orientation, and if they're going to live on campus, to apply for campus housing.
Maybe from Marshall's perspective, from the university's perspective, once a student has been accepted, then what does Marshall do?
Well, we still try to win them over. We know that the decision to to choose Marshall and to come to Marshall really is an ongoing decision that we have to keep them confident in until they move into campus in August. So we don't stop communicating with them just when they're accepted or submit that enrollment deposit. We keep communicating with them through the summer, through orientation. We do follow-up after they come to orientation because there are those students that get kind of cold feet, and we want to make sure that they feel comfortable and know that they're welcome and have support systems here.
Well, one of the benefits of a Green White Day is that it gets students on campus. How important is a site visit for potential students?
I would say it's probably the single most important thing that they can do. You can get a lot of information online and in printed materials, but there's really no substitute to seeing the campus firsthand and meeting the people on the campus. And that's really the most important part of a campus visit, is being able to meet staff and faculty and other students to see what the culture of the school is like and what the community feels like. I also recommend to families, if they can, to perhaps come down the day before, spend the night, go to a local restaurant and tell their server that they're checking out the school. Sometimes they'll get a very unfiltered view of the community's relationship with the school, which can also be a really important part of the decision.
Well, you mentioned parents. What should parents be looking for in a university for their student?
Well, that's probably one of the most challenging parts, is because sometimes the parents' goals and the students' goals aren't always in sync. And for me, I think the most important thing that parents can do is encourage their students to find a place that they are going to be comfortable and feel happy. Because if they're not happy, they're really not going to be successful in the classroom, no matter what the quality of the education is. So really having conversations with their students about what their goals are and what they want in a school, and trying to support their students in that. But of course, there are also practical considerations of distance from home and finances, and they want to make sure that they're making a sound decision in terms of the financial aspect of going to school as well.
What are some roadblocks, perhaps, that are out there when students face when deciding a college?
Well, there are several things that come up, and in the economy today, one of the biggest ones is the financial aspect. And sometimes students are hesitant to take out student loans because they're afraid of having that debt. But what they have to look at it is in terms of an investment. You invest in a house, you don't mind taking out a mortgage to invest in a house because of the benefits that you're going to get from that. And you don't mind taking out a car loan because of the benefits you're going to get from having a car. So you have to kind of look at college the same way too, if you are in the position where you need to take out student loans. Another thing can just be the, as I mentioned before, kind of the cold feet. At first, students can have that, I want to go as far away from home as possible. I want to shake the dust of this town off my shoes. And then as the time gets closer and closer, they start being fearful of leaving home. And I think just for them to feel confident in their decision, if they've chosen a place because it's a place where they feel that they're going to get a good education, they're going to feel supported, and they feel like they're going to be a part of a community that fits with their personality, then there's really nothing to be afraid of, and they should just go for it.
Is there an optimal time from the university's perspective in recruiting students?
It's an ongoing process. We never stop in recruitment because as soon as we start transitioning into looking at fall of 2012 students here pretty soon. So it's ongoing. It's just the time of year varies as to what we're focused on. So in the fall, we're very focused on travel to college fairs. In the winter, we're very focused on trying to get students' applications completed and getting them through the admissions process. And then in the spring and the summer, we're really focused on orientation and getting them registered for their classes.
You mentioned college fairs. Mm-hmm. How does Marshall participate in those, and how do the students participate in them as well?
Well, they're hosted at a variety of places. Marshall hosts one every fall in the Cam Henderson Center, and we'll just get invitations to different fairs all over the eastern region of the United States, and we choose ones based on our recruiting strategies and the geography of where we're looking for students. We have 6 full-time recruiters whose job is to just travel and recruit students, and so we work out a schedule for them. And then students are usually notified through their school, through local media, about the college fair events, and many times their schools will actually transport them to the fair itself so that they have that chance to interact with all of the different colleges who are represented.
In maybe the 30 seconds we have left, give a pitch for Marshall University. What makes Marshall distinctive?
I think what makes Marshall distinctive is that with its size, it has tremendous opportunities for students. Our students, no matter what field they're in, as freshmen and sophomores, can get hands-on experience in their major. But with that opportunity, there's also great caring, and their professors and the staff on campus really go the extra mile to help them be successful, and that they really care about their success, not just as Marshall students, but also as Marshall graduates.
Beth, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Coming up next, a jolt of power jumpstarts a classroom. Stay with us for details.
From the classroom straight to your computer.
I teach international marketing online 100%. I conduct this class from my office, from my home, and it is 24/7 available to students across the country. I would say this has been one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences, not only for me, for my students as well.
Nationally accredited, affordable, convenient. MU Online.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, what is an in-class explosion worth?
Let's take a look at this story from videographer Mike Powers.
It's kind of just a way to get the students' attention, really. Kind of just a flashy demo for class, but basically what happens is we have a high voltage power supply that supplies 6 kilovolts, and we charge this huge capacitor with it. And then we flip another switch which allows the capacitor to discharge across a very thin wire, and the resistance is very low, so it discharges very quickly and results in the wire exploding. Basically, a lot of times the wire will just heat up, you know, if we get current through it, but in this case it's just too much and it just explodes.
One of the things we start out during the spring semester discussing is static electricity and separating positive and negative charge from neutral objects by rubbing things. Then we talk about, well, a power supply can do that pretty efficiently and create more of a charge separation. So for this demonstration, we create a lot of charge separation, which corresponds to a fair amount of stored energy, electrical energy. Then we release it. 2, 3.
A lot of times, you know, we hear about people getting electrocuted and things, but a lot of stuff we do in the lab is very safe, and this kind of gives them an idea of that there is a dangerous side. You know, it's fun and flashy, and there's like a boom and lights and everything, but we also handle this with a lot of care.
Physics is just not, you know, we use mathematics to predict things, predict results. That usually involves numbers. So the mathematics, sometimes students get a little dulled out by looking at formulas, you know. So this puts some real life into the expressions, I think.
Thanks for watching today. I'm Leah Clark Payne.
And I'm Ben Hollis.
As you think about your future, who's your competition? Who are your chief competitors? I notice some of you looking to your right and left at your neighbors. You need to think bigger, much bigger. Choose Marshall University. Big enough to matter, small enough to care. Immerse yourself in your learning. Connect with your professors. And have fun learning. That's important too. Find your passion. Pursue your dreams. Marshall University.
Crying pom pom pom, crying chaka chaka cha.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many?
There we go.
Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I'm Alex Constantino, a junior at Marshall University. Growing up in Wood County, I dreamed of a career in media. I chose Marshall University because of its outstanding journalism program. But Marshall is more than that. It's where I'm exploring my future. Small classes, engaging professors, and a friendly community. Marshall University, it's where my dream is coming true.
Find your passion, pursue your dreams. Marshall University.
I'm Grace Hagler, a sophomore at Marshall University. I'm majoring in sports management. Growing up in New Hampshire, I dreamed about attending college, but I was unsure of my options. A friend of my family told me about his experience at Marshall, and after a visit to Huntington, my choice was clear. Small classes, engaging professors, and a safe campus. Marshall University, it's where my dream is coming true.
Find your passion, pursue your dreams. Marshall University.